4 years ago, I made you a promise. I pledged to take the fight to our enemies and renew our leadership in the world. As president, that's what I've done.
Instead of pulling back from the world, we've strengthened our alliances while improving our security here at home. As Americans, we refuse to live in fear.
America remains the one indispensable nation. And the world needs a strong America, and it is stronger now than when I came into office.
So we've heard the president asserting during the campaign last fall that America is stronger than it has ever been before. A brand new Fox News poll shows that nearly half of the voters who answered this question think that the country is weaker now, that it's less powerful now than it was 5 years ago. 48% of Americans say that the country is weaker today. That is twice as many as the 24% who think it's stronger today, more powerful than it was 5 years ago. 27% think that it is about the same. So why is that? Why is that perception out there, and is it reality? Joined by Alan Colmes, the host of The Alan Colmes Show, Bret Stephens, a foreign affairs columnist with The Wall Street Journal, and Lisa Daftari, a journalist specializing in Middle East affairs and counterterrorism. Welcome to all of you. Alan, what do you make of those numbers?
I don't know. Thank you. No,
Thank you, Alan.
I think that it depends what you mean by weak. He gets a majority think he's done a good job in terrorism. He's got 49% approval rating according to numerous polls. Just got reelected by a majority. A large portion of people voted for him. He did very well in the election. So what does weak mean? We can't go to as many wars as we used to? Does weak mean we don't have forces to go all over the world? But does it mean that people really don't think the president did a good job? Not according to his poll numbers, which seem to be doing pretty well.
Look, let me quantify it for you, okay? When President Obama took office in 2009, Iran had 1,000 kilos of low-enriched uranium. At the last count last November, Iran has 7,600 kilos.
And you think that's what people in this poll are responding to?
Of low-enriched uranium. We supposedly have this country in a lockbox of sanctions, and yet, what does the Ayatollah Khamenei say to negotiations? He says, we're not even going to bother to negotiate with you. We just learned that the president personally put the kibosh on any effort to arm the Syrian opposition, where 60,000 people have died. So there is a perception from Afghanistan to Iraq to Syria to Mali that the U.S. is not engaged, that the U.S. is
I want to get Lisa in here.
Lisa, you said something that's integral here. You said, is that what people are voting on? No, people are basing that poll and their votes on terrorism, meaning Osama bin Laden. And Osama bin Laden is dead, meaning terrorism is dead.
Gaddafi's
Do you believe that?
Again, bin Laden's gone.
Do you believe that?
He actually has killed more.
What happened? His weapons went into the hands.
If I could actually respond to all this, he's killed more al-Qaeda leaders than previous presidents. There is a perception he's done very well on terrorism. He's got a majority of people who say he's done a good job on terrorism. So he's also got a 49% approval rating in multiple polls, which is a plurality. So you want to keep putting him down and say he's not doing a good job. The American people don't see that.
What? No, let me just put something in here, because in the last election, for the first time, to Alan's point, we saw that a lot of the polls said that basically people felt that Democrats were the stronger party in foreign policy and stronger party in keeping, America safe and terrorism. We had never seen that before. Republicans have always won on those measures. So, whether or not it's the reality on the ground, and you can point to each country, it does seem to be a perception out there that this party is doing something to keep America safe. Bret?
Yeah, well, perceptions change, and perceptions clearly changed when suddenly we discovered that in Libya and in Egypt, we were not as beloved as President Obama would have had us believe, because he gave a beautiful speech in Cairo. In fact, our popularity ratings in many of these countries are even lower than they were under the last year of George W. Bush.
Before Morsi was in office. You're 5 years old on that statement.
Well, this is another perfect example. We supported what was supposed to be a freedom agenda in Egypt, and what do we have? We have a Muslim Brotherhood taking over.
So Mubarak would be in office. That's a better move. You prefer Mubarak being in office. That dictator in office would be a better move,
as opposed to the current dictator in office who has just had a love fest with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
You know what? Wait a second, guys. I mean, this is one of the biggest, most interesting questions, I think, because when you look at the Arab Spring, which we heard, across the board, from commentators on television to President Obama, that this was an inspirational moment that was happening across this whole area of the Arab Spring. We now see what's happened in Egypt. We see, 800,000 refugees pushing out of Syria, and not a lot of action on the world stage in terms of helping to push anything forward in Syria. But my question is, are we in... This is a hopeful question. Are we in a transitionary phase in the Arab Spring? Are the people, are these governments that we're seeing, are they sustainable? Or will Mohamed Morsi last a very short time and be pushed out by these freedom seekers who were, some of them, behind this Arab Spring.
As we saw by his power grab not too long ago, they're here to stay, and those forces were hovering over. We made a mistake by so hastily running out there and telling Mubarak to step down when these forces were hovering overhead, and it was a political vacuum, of course. Now, if we go country by country, you look at what's going on in Syria. Why are we not getting involved? Maybe it's because the French aren't leading us there, where they led us in Libya. What happened in Libya? You said Gaddafi's gone. What happened? The stockpile of weapons that he had are spread all over northern and western Africa. We saw what happened in Mali. We're watching what happened in Algeria.
Reagan couldn't get Gaddafi. Reagan didn't do all the things that he gets credit. The Saint Reagan apparently did no wrong. Here's a president who's done things that previous Republican presidents could not do, and you're still blaming him for every ill in the world as if Barack Obama is somehow responsible for what's going on in Syria, although we're supposedly working with opposition forces there. He's responsible for what happened in Egypt, even though he didn't cause.
Is there a feeling, though, Alan, that these governments have nothing to really fear from this president or to fear from America, that there's nothing that is coming towards them that keeps them in line, that makes them go, we better not go there?
Why should they live in fear of the United States? Are you suggesting that we should be threatening other countries?
I'm suggesting that Iran might want to have, a sense that if they step over the line, there will be dealt with.
I think that's been made very clear. There's not one person in the let me just answer that. There's not one person who has not said all options are on the table with Iran. Obama said it. Panetta said it. We've had the Secretary of Defense say it.
But it hasn't stopped them from continuing.
There's no doubt. Well, we can't control everything they do, but we've been very clear that all options are on the table. There are some people like yourself for whom nothing Obama will do will ever be happy. He'll never make you happy.
That was an accusation. That's not true. We applauded President Obama when he finally took the step to get rid of Muammar Gaddafi. We've applauded the drone strikes in Yemen, in Pakistan. We've done so very publicly. More credit, by the way, than people like you were willing to give Bush. But take a look at
Iran. As a matter of fact, I've been critical of Obama for that very reason.
Take a look at Iran. The administration has been telling us, oh, the Iranians are under unprecedented sanctions. They're under unprecedented pressure. And every time we find, oh, this time they're finally going to relent because they have no other choice. We've put them in a box. The Ayatollah Khamenei keeps saying, I'm not interested in negotiations with you. By the way, we
want to go to war with Iran? Is that the answer?
We'd rather have that than a nuclear war.
Hold on. Lisa said something really important.
No, what's outrageous is letting Iran.
You know what it is, Alan? Here's the bottom line. Actions speak much louder than words. We have sanctions. We have sanctions against Iran. How are those being enforced? We have a report that shows in 2012, exports from the U.S. into Iran were up by 30%. They're getting around the sanctions, and people on Main Street in Iran, there's two economies.
You just said you want a war.
Why war? We're saying that we're going to use diplomatic means.
I want a president who has credibility, who doesn't have nominate a Secretary of Defense who has no credibility when it comes to the Iranians.
Obviously feel the president has credibility, which is why he has a majority of people who think he's done well on terror.
Tell me how much you're going to like the world when the Ayatollah Khamenei has a nuclear weapon.
You're fear-mongering.
We're going to leave it there, guys. It's a hot topic. Thank you very much, all of you, for bringing so much to the table.
Thank you.
Alan, Brett, thank you so much, Lisa.